Imagine walking into a room, locking eyes with someone across the space, and within just a few moments, they can't stop thinking about you. Not because of your looks, not because of what you're wearing, but because of something much more subtle, something most people overlook entirely. The truth is, words have the power to change how someone feels about themselves, and when you understand how to use them the right way, you instantly stand out from every other person who tries to get their attention. Here's the thing: most people compliment the wrong way. They throw out generic lines like "you're so beautiful" or "you're so smart," thinking that's enough to create impact. But what happens? The compliment falls flat. It goes in one ear and out the other because she's heard it 100 times before. It's not memorable. It doesn't create that spark of curiosity or attraction. And that's exactly where most men miss the opportunity. Psychology shows us that the human brain is wired to seek novelty. We're drawn to what feels different, unique, and slightly forbidden. Regular compliments feed the ego for a moment, but they don't touch the heart. Forbidden compliments, however, sneak past the surface and land deeper. They speak to parts of her she secretly wishes someone would notice, but almost no one ever does. That's why when you give them, she doesn't just smile politely, she feels it, and that feeling lingers long after you've walked away. Think about it. If every guy tells her she's beautiful, does your compliment really stand out? No. But what if you told her something that reveals you actually see her beyond the surface? What if your words made her feel like you've unlocked a secret layer of her identity? Suddenly, you're not like the rest. You're the one she can't stop replaying in her mind. That's the psychology behind forbidden compliments. They go against the predictable, the obvious, and the safe. They create a spark because they're unexpected. Now, here's another powerful truth. It's not just about what you say, it's about how it makes her feel about herself. Most men give compliments that put themselves at the center. "I think you're gorgeous. I like your style." But notice the pattern. Those are statements about your opinion, not about her essence. The real magic happens when you flip the script. Instead of shining the light on yourself, you shine it on her identity, her presence, her uniqueness. When you do that, she feels seen, valued, and desired in a way most men never make her feel. But let's go even deeper. Forbidden compliments are powerful because they trigger an element of vulnerability. They make her feel something slightly risky, slightly dangerous, but in a safe and thrilling way. Think of it as walking the fine line between flattery and intimacy. If you do it correctly, your words make her pulse quicken. She may even laugh or blush, but inside she's thinking, "How did he notice that?" Or "No one's ever told me that before." That's the kind of reaction you want. And here's where timing comes in. A forbidden compliment dropped at the wrong moment can feel forced or even uncomfortable. But when you deliver it at the right time, when the energy is flowing naturally, when you've already built a little connection, it lands perfectly. Imagine you're in a conversation, she's sharing something about herself, and you lean in just slightly and drop a line that acknowledges something deeper than the surface. In that moment, she doesn't just hear the words, she feels them in her body. That's what makes her lean closer instead of pulling away. You see, forbidden compliments break patterns. They interrupt the script she's used to hearing. Instead of just validating her looks, you validate her essence. Instead of feeding her ego, you nourish her spirit. That's why they're so intoxicating. They speak to her need to feel seen, special, and desired in a way that goes beyond the ordinary. And once you've unlocked that reaction, you don't need to chase, she'll be drawn to you, wondering what else you see that others don't. The psychology behind this is simple. People crave recognition, but not just for the obvious parts of themselves. Everyone wants to feel that someone notices the details, the hidden qualities, the parts they don't always put on display. When you give a compliment that reveals you're paying attention to those things, it creates a magnetic pull. It tells her, "I see you." Not just, "I see what everyone else sees." That's why forbidden compliments are unforgettable. They go past the mask and touch the soul. And here's the secret you must never forget: the most powerful compliments don't just describe her, they transform how she sees herself in your presence. She begins to feel more radiant, more confident, more alive just because of how you framed her essence back to her. That's what makes her crave your energy. That's what makes her think of you when you're not around. So remember this: the psychology behind compliments isn't about stacking words together. It's about triggering emotions. It's about breaking through the noise of cliches and creating a moment so rare it becomes unforgettable. Because at the end of the day, It's not the compliment itself that makes her drool. It's the way it makes her feel like no one else ever has. Have you ever wondered why some men can say just a few words and instantly shift the energy in the room, while others can talk for hours and still fail to leave an impression? The difference lies in the type of compliments they give. Most men stick to the same recycled phrases that women hear every single day. And because of that, they get placed in the same category as everyone else. But when you know the right kinds of compliments to give, the ones I call forbidden compliments, you separate yourself from the crowd in an instant. And today, I'm going to share with you 3 of them that make women lean in, laugh nervously, blush, and sometimes even lose their words for a moment. The first forbidden compliment is one that sparks curiosity. Curiosity is magnetic. It makes her wonder what you meant, and it makes her play the line over and over again in her mind. The beauty of a curiosity-driven compliment is that it's not obvious, it's not predictable. Instead of saying, "You look amazing," you say something like, "There's something about you tonight. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's pulling me in." Notice the difference? One statement is safe, it's surface level. The other one, it's mysterious, it plants a seed in her head that makes her want to know more. She's left thinking, what does he see? What does he mean? And just like that, you've created an inner dialogue in her mind that keeps you front and center. The second forbidden compliment is the one that boosts her feminine confidence. This is not about complimenting her achievements, her work ethic, or even her physical beauty. It's about touching the side of her that longs to feel admired as a woman. Every woman wants to feel feminine, radiant, and powerful in her own essence, but not every man knows how to bring that side of her out. When you compliment her in a way that highlights her femininity, you awaken a part of her that doesn't just make her feel attractive. It makes her feel alive. Imagine looking at her after she's been speaking passionately about something, and instead of commenting on what she said, you smile and tell her, "The way your eyes light up when you talk about what you love, it's intoxicating." That's not just a compliment. That's a mirror reflecting her feminine energy back to her. And when she feels that, she won't forget it. The third forbidden compliment is the one that connects to her identity, the deeper layers of who she is beyond the surface. This is the compliment that makes her feel like you see her soul, not just her body or her style. It might sound like, "I can tell you don't just follow the crowd. You have this energy about you that feels different, like you move to your own rhythm." When you say something like that, you're not just acknowledging what she looks like, you're acknowledging who she is. And when a woman feels that you recognize her uniqueness, that you're tuned into something beneath the surface, she can't help but be drawn closer. Why? Because almost no one takes the time to see that part of her. And the one who does, he instantly stands out. Now, let's break down why these 3 forbidden compliments work so powerfully. First, they all break the pattern of the ordinary. They're not canned, predictable, or cliché. Second, they all spark emotion, whether it's curiosity, confidence, or connection. And third, they put the spotlight on her essence rather than your opinion. This is key. When she feels like you've seen something rare about her, she's going to associate that rare feeling with you. But here's the important part. It's not just the words you say. It's how you deliver them. If you drop these lines without intention, without presence, they'll fall flat. But if you lean in, pause, hold eye contact, and let the words come from a genuine place, the effect is undeniable. Think of it this way: forbidden compliments are not about rehearsed lines, they're about awareness. They come from actually paying attention, from being present enough to notice the details most men overlook. That's why they feel so real when you say them. And here's the real secret. When you master the art of forbidden compliments, you're not just making her feel good in the moment, you're planting an emotional anchor. Hours later, days later, she's going to think back to the way you made her feel. She might not even remember the exact words, but she will remember the feeling of being seen, desired, and admired in a way that felt rare and unforgettable. That's what keeps you living rent-free in her mind. So the next time you find yourself tempted to tell a woman she's pretty or that you like her outfit, stop. Ask yourself instead, what can I say that touches something deeper? What can I notice that others have missed? How can I phrase it in a way that makes her think about it long after? When you begin to operate from that space, your compliments stop being words and start becoming experiences. And experiences are what women crave. Experiences are what make them want more. Because in the end, forbidden compliments are not just about making her smile in the moment. They're about making her feel something so powerful, so unique that she carries it with her. And once she does, she'll always want to come back to the source of that feeling, you. Picture this for a moment. You've just said something to a woman that made her pause. Her eyes widen just slightly, and then that smile creeps across her face as if you've unlocked a secret she didn't know she was holding. It's not because of the exact words you said, but because of the way you said them. The delivery. That tiny detailed tone, timing, body language is what separates the men who make women melt from the men who make them roll their eyes. Most people think attraction is about the words. They obsess over lines, scripts, and phrases, but they completely miss the point. Words are only half the story. The real magic lies in how those words are carried, how they're delivered, how they are felt. And that's what I want you to understand. It's not what you say that makes a compliment forbidden. It's the way you deliver it. Think about it like this. The same compliment can either make her heart race or make her uncomfortable, depending on your energy behind it. Imagine telling a woman, "There's something about the way you move that's so captivating." Now, if you say this while looking down at your phone, rushing through the sentence, or sounding unsure of yourself, it loses all its power. But if you take a beat, lock eyes with her, lean in just slightly, and let your voice drop with calm confidence, those exact same words hit completely differently. It becomes a moment. And that moment is what she feels in her body. Timing also plays a huge role. A forbidden compliment dropped too early feels forced, like you're trying too hard. But delivered in the right moment, it feels spontaneous, electric, natural. For example, imagine you're mid-conversation and she's sharing a story. Her voice is animated, her hands are moving, she's alive in that moment. That's when you lean in and say something like, "The way you light up when you talk about things you love, that's addictive." Do you see the difference? You didn't just pull it out of thin air, you caught her in the middle of her authenticity and you mirrored it back to her. That's when the compliment lands deep. Body language is the amplifier of your words. If your posture is closed, if your shoulders are slouched, or if you avoid eye contact, no matter how good the compliment is, it will feel weak. But when you stand tall, keep your shoulders open, and give her your full presence, your words gain weight. Presence is everything. Women can feel when you're distracted, and they can feel when you're fully tuned in. And when you're tuned in, even a simple line becomes unforgettable. Let's talk about tone, because tone is a hidden weapon. Most men speak too quickly, too high-pitched, or too flat when they give compliments. But when you slow down, let your voice carry a little depth, and emphasize the right words, it creates a rhythm that draws her in. Think of it like music. Delivery is what makes the difference between noise and a song that gives you chills. If you want your compliments to feel forbidden, they have to sound like more than words. They have to sound like an invitation. And here's something most men don't realize: is silence is part of delivery too. The pause after a forbidden compliment is just as important as the words themselves. That little pause gives her the space to absorb it, to feel it, to react. Too often, men rush past the moment, almost apologizing for what they just said. Don't do that. Say it, pause, let it breathe, and watch her body respond. Sometimes that pause is where the magic happens. Now, let me give you an example. Imagine telling a woman, "There's a side to you that's dangerously attractive." If you blurt it out and then change the subject, it sounds like a throwaway line. But if you let the words roll off your tongue, hold her gaze for a heartbeat longer, and then let silence hang for just a moment, it becomes electric. That delivery is what turns an ordinary compliment into a forbidden one. But remember, authenticity is the foundation of delivery. If you don't mean what you say, it won't matter how smooth your timing or tone is. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel when your words are real and when they're just a performance. So don't think of delivery as acting. Think of it as amplifying what's already true. The more you pay attention to her, the more naturally these compliments will come, and the more authentic your delivery will feel. And here's the deeper layer most people miss. Delivery isn't just about her, it's about you. When you deliver a forbidden compliment with presence and confidence, you're also communicating something about yourself. You're showing that you're comfortable with intimacy, that you're unafraid of tension, that you know how to create a moment. That kind of energy is magnetic. It's what makes her lean in instead of pull away. The beauty of mastering delivery is that it transforms every interaction. Even outside of compliments, when you speak with presence, when you use tone, timing, and silence with intention, you become unforgettable. People feel drawn to you, not just because of what you say, but because of the way you make them feel when you say it. That's the essence of forbidden compliments. They're not just words, they're experiences. So the next time you find yourself about to give a compliment, don't rush. Slow down. Feel the moment. Lock in with her energy and deliver it like it matters, because it does. That's how you take words and turn them into connection. Because in the end, delivery is everything. It's not just about saying the right thing, it's about saying it in a way that makes her forget the world for a second and only remember you. Have you ever met someone who gave you a compliment that stuck with you for days, maybe even weeks? Not because of the words themselves, but because of the way they made you feel, like they truly saw you in a way no one else ever had. That's the power of a forbidden compliment when it's done right. It doesn't just create attraction in the moment, it builds a bridge towards something deeper. And that's where the real magic happens. Compliments, when used with intention, are not about chasing quick reactions, they're about opening the door to connection. Here's the truth: attraction will always get someone's attention, but connection is what keeps it. Too many people stop at the surface. They'll use compliments just to make someone smile or blush, and then they move on thinking they've done enough. But if you want to stand out, if you want to be unforgettable, you have to use those compliments as stepping stones. Each one is an opportunity to shift from being just another voice in her life to being the one she feels drawn to on a deeper level. When you give a compliment that touches her essence, you're planting a seed. But what happens after you plant it? You have to nurture it. That means continuing the conversation in a way that allows her to reveal more of herself, and showing her through your words and presence that you're genuinely interested in who she is, not just in how she looks. For example, if you give her a forbidden compliment about her energy, follow it up with curiosity. Where does that energy come from? Were you always like this? What happens is she begins to connect your presence with the feeling of being seen and understood. That's where attraction deepens into bonding. There's also a subtle power in balance. If all you do is give compliments, you run the risk of coming across as over-eager or insincere. But if you weave compliments naturally into meaningful conversations, they feel earned. She doesn't feel like you're trying to win her approval. She feels like you're genuinely acknowledging something special about her in the moment. And when she feels that balance, she relaxes. She leans into you because she senses that your words aren't about manipulation. They're about truth. Connection is built through contrast, tension, and release, lightness and depth. A forbidden compliment can spark that tension. It creates a moment of intrigue, even playfulness. But what makes it powerful is when you use it as a gateway to a more meaningful exchange. Maybe she laughs when you say something that makes her blush, but then you slow down, ask a thoughtful question, or share something about yourself that feels genuine. Suddenly, it's not just attraction, it's intimacy. That rhythm of sparking excitement and then grounding it in connection is what makes her feel like she can trust you with more of herself. Let's also talk about trust, because trust is the foundation of chemistry. If your compliments always stay on the surface, she might enjoy the attention, but she won't feel safe to open up. But when your compliments align with who she is and are backed by consistent presence and respect, she begins to feel that you're not just interested in her beauty, you're interested in her as a whole person. And once a woman feels safe and desired at the same time, that's when you've tapped into something truly powerful. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They see compliments as an end goal instead of a starting point. They think, if I say the right thing, she'll like me. But attraction is not a transaction, it's a dance. A forbidden compliment is just one step in that dance. It sets the tone, it sparks the music, but it's the flow of everything that comes after that creates the real magic. It's how you listen when she responds, how you notice the little details in her stories, how you hold eye contact when she's sharing something vulnerable. All of those things transform a single compliment into a lasting connection. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't feel forced. You're not trying to perform or impress. You're simply being present, paying attention, and responding with authenticity. That's why women remember men who master this. It's not just about being smooth, it's about being real in a way that also excites her. That's the rare combination. Someone who makes her feel desired and also makes her feel understood. And remember, when a compliment leads to connection, it doesn't just make her feel good about herself, it makes her feel good about you. She begins to associate your presence with that spark of aliveness, that rare feeling of being noticed for who she truly is. And when she feels that way, she doesn't want to let it go. She wants more of it, more of you, more of the experience that only you seem to create. So when you think about forbidden compliments, don't just see them as a tool to get her attention. See them as a doorway. They are the spark that lights the fire, but the warmth, the glow, the thing that lasts, that comes from the connection you build after. Because in the end, compliments should never just be about attraction. They should be about creating a moment so real, so powerful, that it naturally flows into something deeper, something she can't forget.